Khabib tends to shave his head or have, no hair on his head when he fights. And I get concerned.
No hair.
No hair when he fights. And I get concerned with elbows being that he leaves his head in that position to be elbowed at all times when he is shooting against the fence, trying to get the takedown. And the other thing that I will say, the length, the reach, the distance, all those things, the push kick will be key. Khabib has a tendency to sometimes like kind of parry down push kicks.
Sweep.
Guess
he
what?
Sweeps.
And when he sweeps like you're talking about, I did that. And guess what? By the end of the first round, I had a huge hematoma or whatever you want to call on my forearm. It was so swollen I couldn't
hardly feel your hand.
I couldn't block kicks anymore. I actually had to use the other hand to try and block with my elbow. It changed how I approached the fight.
You look at what's going on here. Khabib needs to fight a specific fight to beat Tony Ferguson. And he needs to be in that mindset of, I will put myself in these positions that you say you're comfortable with, and I'm going to make you uncomfortable with what you think you're comfortable with. That's where I think Khabib needs to put this fight for him to grind out a fight against Tony, because he is not going to physically break Tony. It's not going to happen. There are those guys you look and you go, this guy just does not break.
Yep.
And so in that, what I need to do is I need to physically just put him in positions where he cannot damage me, but I can damage him. That's the game plan. That's the fight plan. And Khabib does that most of the time. But he's going to have a difficult time just coming in on Tony based upon Tony's length. So Khabib needs to be very careful about where he puts his head when he goes to take Tony down.
You and I have talked about this. Khabib rests his head in positions to be elbowed, to be kneed.
That's going to be the biggest problem.
To be choked, to be
that's going to be his.
He
has got in this camp, Khabib has got to work on head position.
Yep.
His head needs to be center line and up. From that sternum to that chin, that's where your head is at. When it starts to go inside to either side, he's going to have a problem. Now, if he is in guard, he needs to be careful of keeping his head in that sternum.
I was wondering where you were going with that. Yeah.
Everything is, depending upon your position. But if you're against the cage, don't stick your, in the stand-up clinch, don't stick your head to that left or right. I want your head center line into his chin, up. Don't give him that side to side. And then if it hits the ground, I don't want your head specifically there. I need you to start to posture your head away or bring your head up high. Bring your head in position over the top of his head. That will keep him from being able to use his elbows like he likes to do.
Yeah, but he will still be able to hit you from his back, and even though I felt like he doesn't hit hard, he hits you. When he did hit me hard, he hit me on the end of his punch. Like he snaps and turns at the very end of the punch. That's good technique. Even though I think people look at him and when I first started watching him fight, I was like, oh man, this guy's not that good. He just got good conditioning. He's just tough. He's a big, tall guy. He's just not that good.
No, he's good.
But then as I started watching him, when I got announced that I was fighting him, I started watching some of his past fights. And I was like, wow, I never give this guy the credit that he deserved. This guy's phenomenal. He's good. Yeah. He's not just good in terms of conditioning and cardio, and he sets a pace, and sure, he can take a shot. He just really was good. And then he started just tapping everyone with chokes and darces, and I was like, oh, wow. But I also want to remind people that I've trained with Khabib for a while, and that Khabib for the longest time was somebody that was he didn't really care for the submission. He wanted to keep pushing you and trying to break you. I think in the Conor fight we saw it with somebody else, I believe, too. Michael Johnson. That he really just comes down. Now he's like, okay, look, why am I wasting more rounds in here? Let's just get him out of here. So I think if the opportunity presents itself in a position where he doesn't have to give up position, where he's on the back with Conor McGregor, let's see if we can get the choke. If I can't get the choke, okay, go back to ground and pounding. I just don't see him going for submissions that may potentially lose him the position. If he's on the back, I think he'll go for it. I don't think guillotine, stuff like that, he may potentially get put on bottom. He's just not that, he's not that risk taker of look, I'm dominating this fight from the top position. There's no reason for me to try to go for a guillotine, elevate you, lift you up, let you get back to your feet, any of those things. I feel that if he's on the back, he'll go for the choke, the rear naked choke. Outside of that, maybe even a side choke. maybe even a side choke. But I don't think anything outside of those chokes. I just don't see it. I don't see that happening. I don't think he's just someone that's going to keep. He's going to someone that's going to keep grinding, keep doing work, keep putting his. But you brought up a good point. If he's on top, I feel like he needs to keep his head off the center line. I think he needs to keep it ear to ear. And I think
on the ground, he does.
And I think he needs to keep it on the side choke position. So if he has a side choke or a head and arm like choke position, he needs to have his head on the outside so he can't be elbowed. Those are the two positions I think that he does very well. But that has to do with him keeping Tony's back flat on the ground.
He's going to have to change what he normally does in a fight to be successful. I don't think Khabib can get rid of Tony.
No.
I don't think he's got the stand-up power to knock him out. He can obviously, hit Tony and anybody can get hurt.
Yeah.
And he could put him out. But submission-wise, he's not going to put Tony out. And where I look at Khabib and I go, you can absolutely get a decision victory here. You can grind this out and you can get that. But I don't see you stopping him. I don't see you submitting him.
No.
And I just see it's a 5-round fight if you're going to win this fight.